Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk on WIN TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. And today we're going to start the program with some breaking news. I just wanted to get our Washington Informer senior reporter on live with us today. He's in New Jersey. Stacey Brown, how are you?
Hey, Denise, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm glad to hear you sounding so calm because we just got the
Oh my
news
goodness.
about this earthquake, and we've been hearing news about earthquakes around the world, but now we have one right here at home. I think was the epicenter in New Jersey, or what can you tell us about what just happened?
Yeah, the epicenter actually I'm in Delaware, just across the bridge from southern New Jersey, but northern New Jersey was the epicenter. However, here in Wilmington, 4.8 on the Richter scale, which is not a small thing at all, Denise. I was sitting here at my desk, and it just started shaking. And my daughter, sometimes what happens here with my family, my daughters, they'll put something in the dryer. They'll overload the dryer and it'll shake. And my daughter says to me, she goes, was there anything in the dryer? Then she goes, no, there's no one else here. There's nothing in earthquake. And it shook for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds. Um, but New York, the Empire State Building actually tweeted out, the workers at the Empire State Building tweeted out that the Empire State Building in New York was fine. But Governor Kathy Hochul of New York said that her team was on it. They too felt it up in Albany, the state capital of New York City, of course, which is rare. But this was felt from New England all the way to Maryland. Um, so it was a pretty big quake. The good thing about it is that it only lasted a few seconds. Um, but this is not the first. It's not, we're not, Denise, we're not strangers to earthquakes here on the East Coast. It's a rare occurrence, but we're not total strangers to it.
Well, you're right. I mean, the last time I actually recall an earthquake, and we were here in the office and things started falling off the wall, was right before. I always think of that with the time when the Martin Luther King Memorial, they were going to have the opening for that, and they had to cancel it because of the damage that was done, not only there, but all across the city. It's funny the reaction to an earthquake sometimes because
Yeah.
people run the directions where people will go as opposed to standing in place. They go in a direction looking for safety. But that's the last one that I recall here in the DC. I don't remember the year, but it's been probably within the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, a
Hmm.
couple things with that. Martin Luther King and safety. I'll get to Martin Luther King in a moment because that really strikes up something really for me personally and for a lot of folks who lived in Los Angeles in 1994. Horrible, horrible memory there. But safety, for those who are wondering and who may not know, if you're ever inside during an earthquake, the best place is a doorway, is
Mm,
the threshold of a door. That is where you have the most protection because that is not likely not to come down. Um, Folks don't, they tend to run places like you said, but most places can't protect you.
yeah.
Um, and so you got to get under the threshold of a door because of the structure and the beams and things of that nature seems to hold up. But the other part of what you said, what rang a really serious bell, Denise, 1994, it was called the Northridge earthquake. I was living, I was working in Northridge, California at the time, and the earthquake overall measured a 6.7, but the epicenter, it was a 9.8. And I'll never
Wow.
forget it because it was Martin Luther King Day in 1994, and it was 5:30 in the morning, and Los Angeles shook like someone had, and I always describe it as someone picking the house up and playing catch with it, and
Wow.
devastation upon devastation. Brenda says she was in LA for the 1994 earthquake. I lived there. The house was a complete wreck. I just remember going door to door to neighbors. We had an elderly neighbor that everyone kind of had to push in her door to get her out to make sure that she was okay. Um, those sites from the LA earthquake in 1994, being there where I worked in Northridge. So just to, it was a holiday again, Martin Luther King Day, and thank goodness it was a holiday because there was no real traffic on the road that we were
Mm-hmm.
at work. If it had happened a couple of hours later, we'd have been at work. There was an air conditioned unit that was sat on top of our building, and it went through the entire building. My desk and several of my colleagues' desks, it was wiped out. So I wouldn't have been here talking with you if we were working at the time of that earthquake.
Wow, that's amazing. And as we look at what's going on around the world, and in places where people are accustomed to some earthquakes, I know I'm trying to think where are we looking? The country we're looking at right now that had the really
Taiwan.
Taiwan, exactly. But the building that's leaning sideways,
Unbelievable.
but you can tell that the construction companies, and I guess that's the same, I would hope, on the West Coast, are building these tall buildings or structures to
Yeah.
withstand some of that. I mean, they can't withstand all of it, but there's no broken glass. It's just a leaning building,
Well,
and
the
maybe
codes are
some crushed
different.
floors. Hmm?
The codes are different,
Yeah,
and they have
yeah,
to be different. I know
yeah.
here in Wilmington, Denise, there are a number of homes that are 100 plus years old. In fact, the vast majority of the homes in Wilmington, Delaware, are either 90 years old or better. And so it makes you wonder. Actually, it makes you wonder how stable these structures are. But it also, on the other side, if you want to look at it on the optimistic side, it also, to some anyway, I've heard people say this, it suggests that people put more care in building homes 100 years ago than they do today because we have these rapid builds.
Exactly, exactly. Well, Stacy, I'm really glad that I just wanted to get you on because, I don't know. I didn't feel anything here in Washington, D.C. I
Oh, we
hadn't talked
felt
to the
it.
folks in Maryland, but you were the closest. And I think someone that I thought, could give us a good wrap up of what you may have felt there in Delaware. We might have to get our environmental reporter on board
Yes,
to talk about, just what's going on with these earthquakes and how we do secure sort of safe places in case if there's a way to do that because as we know, I mean, it's not that we don't have enough on our in our conscience to have us upset about everything from crime to health to a presidential election, and now we're talking earthquakes. So we want people to be empowered and not fearful of
yes.
what's coming. So anyway, thank you so very much for being with us. Stay safe, please, and the same thing with your family.
Thanks, Denise.
All righty, take care. So yeah, that was Stacy Brown. He is the host of Let It Be Known on the Black Press USA news channel. He broadcasts every morning at 7:30 a.m. So check him out. He also, we are glad to say, is our senior writer here at the Washington Informer, senior political writer here at the Washington Informer. So thank you so very much for being with us. We have an exciting lineup of guests today. And first up is going to be Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. She's president of the National Association of Retail Brokers, and we're kicking off Financial Literacy Month. So we're glad to have her here to talk about building Black wealth. And we're also looking forward to speaking with Robert Gregg. He's no stranger to Let's Talk. He's the founder and CEO of Support to Other People, an organization that helps young Black men with personal and professional development. And lastly, we will have dermatologist Dr. Yolanda Holmes joining lifestyle reporter Brenda Seiler to talk about, yes, sunscreen for Black skin. We're going into the summer. You think we're talking about earthquakes. My prediction is that we're going to have a pretty hot summer this summer. And hopefully, I love the sun, but we need to learn how to protect our skin, even Black skin, with those sunscreens. And Dr. Holmes is going to be here to talk with Brenda about how we learn to protect ourselves from the sun. So I hope you picked up a copy of the most recent issue, if I can get it here, of the Washington Informer. Someone asked me the other day, are you all still printing? And I said, yes. If you watch the show, you'll see that we always show a copy of the print edition, which is out on the streets this week. Sam P.K. Collins knocked the ball out the park with the stories that he has done and will continue to be doing as he follows the conversations down at the DC City Council regarding the mayor's budget and reaction by city government agencies, as well as local residents, nonprofit and profit organizations. There's so much in this issue, so I want to make sure that you pick up a copy, but you know you can get a copy, our digital edition, on our website at washingtoninformer.com. You can get a digital edition there. And, while you're there, pick up, well, not pick up, but you'll see a little box that's going to pop up when you go to the website. And it's going to ask you if you would like to subscribe to Win Daily, which is our daily newsletter that we send out with articles about local news that we publish in the Washington Informer. So make sure that hopefully you will sign up for that. We'd love to have you with us. Please share today's broadcast on your social media platforms and follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, YouTube. Wherever you are, we are. So we want to make sure that you can read us and stay with us and be a part of the Informer family as we go forward. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Washington Informer TV. Subscribe to the channel. Again, those numbers make a big difference to us as far as, everything I've mentioned so far from the Informer is free. But your following and friending and all those things certainly do help us in the end. So we're going to take a break. I am for a minute, take a breath, and we're going to take a moment to hear our broadcast from Curtis Knowles.
This is Curtis Knowles with Win TV News. The time at which school starts every morning in PG County can vary wildly, which is what school leaders are saying is a contributing factor to the problems they've had with getting kids to school every day. And standardizing start times is their way the school system hopes to fix that. In April, PG County will introduce this change to the transportation program, with a spokesperson saying, quote, "We are streamlining and standardizing bell times to condense from more than 20 different start and end times to 3 standard start times of 7:30, 8:30, and 9:30. Other changes to the transportation program will include the movement of some bus stops to new locations, and in some cases, there will be students who currently ride the bus who will be required to walk to school this fall. The only maritime shipping terminal currently operating in the Port of Baltimore is preparing to process an influx of ships as crews continue clearing the mangled wreckage of the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. TradePoint Atlantic will unload and process an estimated 10,000 vehicles over the next 15 days, according to the company. This includes 6 regularly scheduled ships and 9 others redirected, as access to the Port Main's terminals remain blocked, posing a logistical nightmare for shipping along the East Coast. Crews have opened a second temporary channel through the collapse site on Tuesday, but it is too shallow for most commercial vessels, as the 2 alternate channels were meant primarily to aid in the cleanup effort. Work continues to open a third channel that will allow larger vessels to pass through the bottleneck and restore more commercial activity. D.C. Mayor Bowser has recently released a bill that her administration made in collaboration with district principals and agencies to address truancy, chronic absenteeism, and a bevy of other issues related to student safety and family engagement. Bowser's bill, titled the Utilizing Partnerships, Local Interventions for Truancy and Safety Amendment Act of 2024, and counts among its many goals the streamlining and strengthening of the district's truancy and referral processes via the D.C. Department of Human Services. If the bill passes, DHS will become the entity that contacts and assesses the needs of families and truant youth.
Thank you so very much, Curtis. And now it's my pleasure to bring to Let's Talk and to our viewing audience Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. She is president of the National Association for Real Estate Brokers, and we're going to throw Black in there, Dr. Rose, but president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, an organization that aggressively seeks to bolster Black home ownership. Dr. Rose, thanks so much for being with us. We can't hear you. So is it on your Bluetooth or are you with us on your headphones? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a break for a minute to see if we can get this hooked up because we certainly do want to talk to Dr. Johnson Rose today because this is Financial Literacy Month. And there is so much, so much. I'm going to tell you, one of the things that we talked about, I was at a conference this week on home ownership, and there was a conversation about terms. And I think you will see in the coming days that are going to move away from that term literacy. I think it's maybe financial education, financial empowerment, but there's something about the term literacy that those are in that who are in the home ownership and financial awareness realm are moving away from. Dr. Johnson Rose, are you with us now?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh no, I'm just glad that you're here and glad to see you here today and to talk
Yes, ma'am.
about National Black National Building Black Wealth Day on Saturday, April the 13th.
Yes,
Yeah, so according to NARAB's 2022 State of Housing in Black America report, well, we're talking about millennials. Well, let's go back. I don't want to go there first. I really
okay.
want you to talk about some of what your organization does and how you are addressing the challenges and obstacles that Blacks face in navigating the real estate market.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity and our partnership with the Washington Informer. So we're NARAB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We are the premier network of Black real estate professionals. We were founded in 1947, and we are the realtors. And the reason why we're called realtors, Denise, is because when we were founded in 1947, Blacks could not become realtors. So our founders founded the Realtist Association, and we have been focused on educating, empowering, and providing opportunities for the Black community to be able to own real estate. So we advocate, we educate, we do several different programs throughout the year, but our focus is on building Black wealth and helping our community build Black wealth.
Dr. Johnson Rose, I want to go back a little bit because I love history. I hated it as a kid, and now I love it today. And
Yes,
when you
ma'am.
talk about Blacks were not allowed to be a member of or not classified, I guess, as realtors. Who
Yes,
was a pioneer that you could mention maybe to us that really helped to break that barrier, or not even break the
yes,
barrier, but to create an organization that Black people could be proud to be a member of that help to build
yes.
wealth in Black communities.
Yes, so we were very fortunate in our community. NARAB has 12 founders, 11 men and one woman. I'll just highlight Nanny Black, who was our first one of our first founders, and a Black female. She was a real estate broker out of Detroit. We also had organizations, the Dearborn Realtors, that association was out of Chicago, and Empire Realtors out of Atlanta. So Atlanta and Chicago had Black real estate associations before NARAB. So these associations were networks of Black real estate professionals. And our organization, Denise, includes brokers, appraisers, property managers, the whole gamut of real estate professionals. And in Atlanta and Chicago, they had already formulated and said that we need to be connected as Black professionals. And they were able to connect with other brokers across the country, like Miss Black in Detroit, A. Maceo Smith out of Dallas, etc., to be able to come together and form this network. We're so blessed that we've grown over the past 77 years from 12 founders to 120 chapters across the country and
Amazing.
thousands of members, with again 9 affiliate associations that focus on every area of real estate. Our organization was very instrumental in getting the Fair Housing Act passed in 1968. We've been instrumental in Community Reinvestment Act and what banks have to do in Black communities. So we have had to advocate on our behalf and on behalf of our community to really try to provide equity in housing. Our motto and our creed is democracy in housing. And that's what we have been pursuing for the past 77 years. So it's interesting to fast forward 77 years later. Now we have launched the Building Black Wealth Tour because we have data, and I know we're going to talk about some of that data that says why it's so important for us to be in our communities right now, educating and inspiring our community to buy real estate. We also promote
And I
all of
want,
the advantages. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I want to go because I want to build up to this because when it's 77 years ago, or even before then, I mean, when we had the Great Migration from the South to the North,
Yes.
people living together, you know, until they could actually, home ownership to me, I thought was a real aspiration for Black people post-slavery,
Yes.
slavery. And, you know, and this organization maybe evolved out of, you know, protecting black homeowners as they began to purchase property, you know, now. And that's where NARAB comes in, you know, to talk about where we've come since then. And
Yes.
if you could paint that picture for us, because I want people to know that, you know, we're in a different generation now. And I think you're going to talk a little bit about that, but talk about
Yeah.
from whence we came.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you look at our history, we were really cut out of the real estate industry and the ability to own property and to build wealth. And we've had to fight for that right over the years and fight for access, and fight for the ability to own property. When you think about our history, we were property before we were able to before we had the opportunity in this country to buy property.
Exactly.
So there has been a lot of pioneers, a lot of leaders before us that have really fought and given their lives for us to have access to build wealth and access to real estate. And that's why we're very concerned at NARAB that we see right now our data is showing that Black millennials are not buying real estate at the same pace as baby boomers and Gen Xers that were African Americans did. Our community right now is at 45% home ownership, Denise, compared to the white community, which is at 76% home ownership. So there's more of a 30%, more than a 30% gap in terms of home ownership. And you see that when it comes to wealth. Average wealth of a Black family is 26,000. Some data shows, and then others shows that white families have over $200,000 worth of wealth. Where does that come from? The number one wealth building tool, the easiest tool you can use to build wealth is home ownership. But we are finding that year to date, from 22 to 23, mortgage applications are down in our community by
Mm,
20%.
wow.
Mortgage applications are down amongst Black millennials by 22%. So we look at HMDA data, we look at mortgage applications. We know if you're not applying for a mortgage, and the applications are down, then we know that the interest, and the desire for home ownership is actually down in our communities. We attribute that to a lot of things. One is higher interest rates. You hear it on the news. You hear it in the media that interest rates are higher. We blame it on inflation. Everything costs more. Gas, milk, food, etc. Everything costs
Yeah,
more.
that's the big news today about the
Yes,
increased cost of
yes,
food.
yes. And what we're seeing, and then housing prices post COVID have increased in most markets. So when we look at higher price homes, lack of inventory in terms of affordability, higher interest rates, and then lifestyle changes. A lot of our millennials don't stay at a job for 20 and 30 years. They move around,
Hmm.
they change cities. So all of those things are keeping them from purchasing a home. But we know at NARAB that it's the number one wealth building tool that we have. And if we're going to make a dent, make any progress towards closing the wealth gap, home ownership is one of the number one ways we can actually do that.
So this tour, this 100 city tour, and I'm going to assume it's
Yes.
the District of Columbia is included in that. But
Yes, ma'am.
what can people expect when you visit the city and you do this 1 day event?
Yes, ma'am. So we are going to be in 100 cities on April the 13th. You can register at www.nareblackwealthtour.com, NAREB, blackwealthtour.com. When you
Okay, we're
click
going to
on,
post that.
thank you so much.
Okay,
when you
all right.
when you click on the site, you have two options. One, you can find the city. We have 100 cities across the country. We're in Philly, we're in Houston, we're in Detroit, we're in Dallas, we're in LA, we're all over the country. So you can find your nearest city. Or we also have a virtual community day, a virtual live feed. So you can register for either option. When you have the ability to attend, there is workshops, there's an expo, there's one-on-one sessions. We try to create an environment for our community where it's not like walking into a stuffy bank. We create an environment that's comfortable, that's consumer friendly, that gets you access to the information that you need and the professionals that you need to walk you through the process of wealth building. So it's a fun day. All of our events, we have DJs, we have events for the kids, we have balloons, we have popcorn. We create an environment that's fun, that's friendly, but most importantly, that's educational. So we have classes every hour on the hour, and opportunities for you to meet one on one with Black lawyers, Black realtors, and other professionals to help you in your journey.
And as a black realtist, what could you just? I mean, I'm trying to get a preview now. Give us
Yes, ma'am.
three. I mean, because we talk about barriers all the time, but if someone really wanted to maybe come to this event or talk to a realtist or a lawyer about how to purchase a home, if you have three main things that you would
Yes.
recommend to prepare for that process, what would those be?
Yes. So great question. I love this. Number one is check your credit. We utilize credit in so many different ways. And a lot of times we don't know what's on our credit. So, number one, as you go into this process, check your credit. And I do want to add, Denise, at the Building Black Wealth Tour, every consumer has the opportunity through our NID Housing Counseling affiliate to receive a free credit report, even online for the virtual community day. So if you don't want to spend the cost to run your credit, you need to get it ran. You can get your credit ran and talk to a housing counselor for free at the Building Black Wealth Tour. So first is check your credit. Second thing is paperwork. There's a lot of documentation that's part of the home buying process, and you can't be intimidated by it. It's just time to get organized, to gather paperwork, bank statements, check stubs, W 2s, all those items that you know are going to be needed. Get those items together. At the Black Wolf Tour, and we have an ABC to home buying class where we outline all of the paperwork that you will need to apply for a mortgage. So you aren't surprised when they ask you for certain things. We're going to talk about that at the Black Wolf Tour, the checklist of items that you need to prepare yourself for homeownership. And the third thing is understand debt to income ratio. There is a misconception out there that credit is the number one reason why African Americans are not qualifying for loans. It's not credit, it is actually debt to income ratio. So, debt to income ratio, how we're managing our expenses versus our income, is the number one reason why we are not getting qualified. Student loan debt is a big obstacle in our community that hurts us with debt to income ratio. UNCF stats show that graduates with about $41,000 worth of debt. That's an impediment to us. So we have to have strategies and ways to work with you to overcome student loan debt or other things that you may have that's causing you not to be able to qualify for the type of house that you want to buy. So with that, we discuss all of those things at the Building Black Wealth Tour. We have classes for it. We have one-on-ones for it. We have the resources there to walk you through the process and hold your hand through the process to get you through it.
That's
Last thing,
amazing. Oh, go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
last thing I want to mention is very important, and that's our State of Housing in Black America report that you referenced, Denise. Our data shows that there are more than 2 million mortgage ready Black Americans. Mortgage ready means they have the income and they have the credit to qualify. They have the income, they have the credit. They just don't know that they can qualify for a loan. They may think they need 20% down. They may think their credit's not high enough. They may think they don't make enough money. Our tour is designed for them to educate them that you are qualifiable for a home. Our stats also show, our data shows that there's 3.4 million almost mortgage ready Black Americans. That means they're on the border. They may need 20 points on their credit score to be in that range. They may need to bring their debt to income down by 2% to get there. So they're on the borderline. There's some things that they can do to get themselves ready, but they homeowners. Our tour is designed for them. Our tour is designed to
Okay.
go into our communities, give them the education that they need to become homeowners.
This is, it sounds like a really, really amazing one-day event. But at the same time, it's connecting them to realtors who can continue to, I mean, and I
Well,
say hold
support.
people's hands to get them through that process. I know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
folks can go to your website. There's a lot of information there.
Yes.
And even, as we talked about before, the Washington Informer does a special issue in November. I'm sorry, in June, which is Home Ownership Month. That's
Yeah.
when we really try to focus in on all the issues in one issue that will help people to strengthen their knowledge and their ability to purchase a home, particularly here in the DMV. We know that so many things have been thrown up against us, as you said, so many barriers. But the more information we have, the better equipped we are to make that loan, and of course, to make that purchase. But we
Yes.
also know that there are a lot of people out there that don't want to own. They may want to rent, but I think there's a conversation for them as well.
Yes, it is. We always start off our days with the importance of home ownership. And there's so many benefits to it, from wealth building, but also children do better in school when they grow up in a home that their parents own. It's just so many benefits to it, that we really talk about that as part of the Black Wolf Tour. We also have a class for investing in real estate. We have a lot of Black millennials that are not stationary in one city, but they may want to purchase a home. We have a national partnership with Airbnb. They may want to purchase a home and make it an investment property. That's great because it gets them in the game of building wealth.
Love it, love it. Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose, thank you so very much for sharing this
Thank
information
you
with
for
us.
having me.
We're going to have you back. This won't be the last
Yes, ma'am.
time, particularly in June, because we want to help make sure that you're a part of the conversation that we have when we talk more about Black homeownership and building Black wealth. So drive safe. I see it looks like you're in a car, so be safe, and look
Yes,
forward to talking to you
thank
soon.
you.
All righty.
Blessings to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you. Yeah, as I said, this one-day event on April the 13th is going to be really great. That is digital or online as well. So one more time, we're going to put the information up there on the screen so that if you are interested in participating in this Black Wealth Tour sponsored by NARAB, you'll know where to go. You can check it out after the show today and go ahead and register. We certainly would welcome that opportunity and hope that you will learn as much as you can about building wealth. We're going to move now to our next guest, who is Robert Gregg, founder and CEO of Support to Other People. And Robert's here to talk to us about his organization is
Yes,
helping
ma'am.
young Black men with personal and professional development. We had you on last year, and you got something event coming up yourself, Robert. But tell us
Yes.
about your organization and how you got it started.
Well, how I got my organization started was really following your footsteps, Miss Rollard. Um, some years back, I was with you volunteering at Blue High School for the Man to Man Conference. And when I was there for the 2 years, 2004, 2005, I believe it was, um, I started to notice that our students in Blue, especially young men, was very interested in the mentorship, the one-day mentorship that we had. And after that, a few years after that, crazy story, one of the young men approached me walking down the street. He remembered me from the program. So he wanted something. He was like, "Are you guys gonna come back and do some more?" He said, he'd say, "I like it, but we need more." And I was like, "Wow, they was listening." So I figure our young men, they need something. So I built this for our young men can have a place that they can come and they can have an outlet to talk and discuss issues that they may have.
That's amazing. That's fantastic because, as people are criticizing the mayor and the chief of police and others about what's happening, some criticizing, some praising,
Yes.
for really the hard line the city's about to take on youth and juvenile crime. We here at Let's Talk in the Washington Informer know that there are enormous amount of programs that are out here to support young people. And yours is one of those that, as you said, focuses specifically on
Yes,
young
ma'am.
men.
Yes.
So, and what do you find, Robert? I mean, people always ask why are these kids in the state that they're in? And some have talked about the pandemic. We talk about broken homes. We talk about homelessness. We talk about what some believe are lack of resources. What are they telling you?
I think this is my belief. I believe that our young men do not believe that no one wants to listen to them. They don't have a voice because we are taught as young men, we hold everything in. I think our young men need a place that they can come to and just express themselves and just talk. Because our young men, when they do react and all that anger is held in them, this is what we get. We get the anger on the streets, we get the guns, we get the fights, we get the robberies. If we can put them someplace and catch them early and just have them to, because we never know what's going on in their household. We don't know what happens. I see them at Ballou High School, but once they leave Ballou, and we don't know what troubles they're dealing with at home. We don't know, what they see when they're at home. So I know everyone say that it started at home first, but if they see um negative
Behaviors.
behavior at home,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they learning from home.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring that from home to the streets. Every home is not perfect. So I want to tap into these young men who may be going through that, because they feel they're being forgotten about.
Yeah, it's interesting because you had to make it very clear to me that while you're a graduate, an alumnus of Ballou Senior High School, you're not in the school, you don't have a program at the school.
No,
You're
ma'am.
just an alumnus that's going back and trying to make a difference in young people's lives. And it's interesting because everybody thinks that somebody else is supposed to do something. And a lot of
Yes.
times it starts with us. And I'm glad that Ballou has welcomed you into the school to do this program. Last year was your first conference, Change and Move Forward, where you had the president of the Washington Commanders, Jason Wright, to speak to the young men
Young
about
men.
leaders and not followers. I mean, talk about the students' reaction to that and what you have planned for this year.
Well, last year with Mr. Jason Wright was very good. Mr. Jason Wright and I talked, and just listening to his story and his upbringing he grew up on the West Coast, and he explained to me how he was introduced and knew about the different gangs on the West Coast, and how his father was very strict on him and got him through that. And I listened to his story, and then I told him, I said, "You the first Black man to lead a football team as a president. Your story need to be told. Can you come to my school and let them see you, let them hear you?" Because I know a lot of guys love football, and I knew with football, you put football and put that together, it went together. And we did have one of the young students that wanted Mr. Wright to follow up and to mentor him. We're still working on that. He was invited to Mr. Wright's owner suite at the football stadium, had a good time. But we're still working, trying to get him to connect more. And I told him that, it's a lot going on with the NFL and the football team.
No
So it
question.
can take him a little while. Just take him a little while to get, I'm going to get back Mr. Wright. That's not over with.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
yes,
That's
that's
great.
right. That's right. And this year, I'm doing something for the young men. Miss Rolock, I was saying, a lot of young men, our young men in Ward 8. I grew up in Ward 8. I'm a Ward 8. I graduated from Ballou, went to Hart Junior High School. A lot of our young men is not interested about going to college. That may not be on their, after they get their diploma, they're like, I'm done with school.
Right.
And I said, but our young men need trade. They need a trade. They may be good with their hands, but they don't know it. A lot of our young Black men, they're good at doing things, but we need someone to expose them to that. I want to expose the young men to something on a positive side. If I don't get to them, someone else my age may get to them and want to teach them how to carjack or how to do these things.
So what is going to be your focus on the conference this year? Who are you planning to, who are going to be your speakers or your speaker? What are you bringing?
My speakers are coming from the steam fitters they have 30 trades from electrical, HVAC, plumbing, all trades these young men can, it gives them a variety to pick and choose what they may like. It's just not one. So they have 30 different trades. The young men can have an opportunity to take a look and see what they may be interested in. So I'm bringing the steam fitters, which is also a partner of the Commanders. And I've run into a lot of people working with the Commanders. So that's one of the things I'm bringing to the conference on next Thursday, April the 11th at Ballou High School.
And, so many people have been critical of the DC school system, even though they do have trade programs in some of the schools. But yes, I mean, bringing people into the school to show that, yeah, everybody may not want to go to college. Everybody may do a year of college and find out it's not for them. They want to,
yes,
they leave and do something else. But we don't promote the trades like we should. And I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. And so what has been the response from the young men that you work with? Are they looking forward and asking for something like this?
Well, you know what? Yes. You know what, Ms. Roland? Last year at the conference, I did a survey. And I had the young men just answer a few questions. And then I had 2 questions on the back page. What can I do more to help? And Ms. Rolock, a lot of the young men are asking for help. They're really asking for help. And this is their own words. People don't know this. Yeah. If someone come and be consistent and sincere with them, they will reach out to you. We just have to just do it. And everybody's being afraid of them. But we should not be afraid of these young men. People being afraid because they think that they're, a menace to society. These young men is not that.
Right.
And I looked at them because I was just like them in Ballou High School.
Amazing.
I was just like them in Ballou.
So Robert, when is this conference or when is this workshop going to be held? And do you need any volunteers?
Well, I've been reaching out to, I have some volunteers.
Well, give us a date first.
The date for Ballou is Thursday, April 11th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And then right after that, I'm going to be doing a inaugural ceremony announcement with the parents, the students, family and friends, and of course yourself and other community leaders. I would like for you guys to come. And then right after I do that, I'm going to start the workshops. And I want to do the workshops with these young men and open up to them and hear their story.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear their story.
Right. Right.
And that's the balance of what supports other people. If you go to the website and say, when you say the personal and professional, the personal, that's what this is. The personal is getting there and talk to them. Right. The professional part is getting different companies and trade schools like this to work with them. So you can't do one without the other.
Well,
so
and right. And you need someone to connect the dots because we have the trade union folks and we've got the students. Somebody's got to bring them together. So you're the connector. So I'm really, I praise you for being that in the second year in a row.
Yes,
to have this program at Ballou, and hopefully we'll be able to track
You
the
see my picture
successes
behind
of
me?
that.
You see
I
my
do
picture?
see something behind you. Yep.
You see my picture? Let me side to side. You see that
Okay.
picture? You
Yes.
see that young man? I'm sorry. You see that
Yes,
young man?
I do.
And I like that picture. It's on my website. And I have pictures of young men. They're in a thinking position.
I
They
got
have
you.
something on their mind. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like this picture here because that's the way our young men is. We
Right. Right.
always thinking. We have things on our mind, but we don't have a place that we can share that information and talk about it instead of holding it in.
Well, like I said, thank you for connecting the dots. Thank you for being with us today. We, of course, will be with you
Yes, ma'am.
to cover your event, and looking forward to seeing the success that comes out of it. So thanks for spending some time with us today to talk
Thank you.
about it. All
Thank you, Ms.
righty.
Rolla.
Have a
Okay.
great one. Okie
Okay.
doke.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. So we, again, as we keep saying here on Let's Talk Win TV, there are so many programs, so many people that want to address the problem of young people in our city, and we cannot stop. We've got to keep it going. And even if you don't want to be the person that's out there, at least you know people that you can support, programs that you support can support, and they certainly would appreciate that support. And it creates a better community. So anyway, having said that, we're going to move on now to our next guest. We have a leading dermatologist, Dr. Yolanda Holmes, who will be joining our lifestyle reporter, Brenda Seiler. And Brenda, are you there?
Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today on Let's Talk. And I'm excited to welcome Dr. Yolanda Holmes, board certified dermatologist here in the DC area, who went to medical school at Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And she did her dermatology residency at Howard University Hospital. So, Dr. Holmes, welcome this afternoon to Let's Talk.
Hi, hello everyone, and thanks for having me.
Full disclosure, Dr. Holmes is my dermatologist, so I'm really happy that she's taking the time to talk with us today about something that people have had questions about for years, and that is those of us of a darker hue with a lot of melanin, we have a perception that perhaps we don't need to use sunscreen. So, Dr. Holmes, talk a little bit about that in terms of not only why everybody needs to use sunscreen, but in particular, we need to use sunscreen.
I think the perception that we don't need sunscreen is because we have very low incidence of skin cancer. So we rarely have skin cancer in our community. It's not impossible. And a lot of the cancers that we develop are on non-sun exposed areas. But because of that, they can be very advanced when they're detected. However, I always encourage people to use sunscreens because not only does the sun cause fine lines and wrinkles on our skin, it also causes dark spots and it makes us look older than we are if our skin is exposed to the sun and not protected.
That's a good point. And talk about SPF. I don't know if people really understand when they see the side of a container of sunscreen, what that SPF means. Could you explain that for us as well?
Yes, SPF means a sun protection factor. So that protects you against UV rays, and UV rays are responsible for not only skin cancer, but for spots on the skin, darkness, fine lines, and wrinkles. If you use SPF, for instance, if you use a SPF 30, that means that you can be out 30 times longer than you would be without sunscreen before you get a burn. So we suggest that everyone uses an SPF every day.
And some people think that, oh, I'll put it on in the morning with my moisturizer and that's it. That's going to last me for the day. You need to repeat the process. Is that correct?
No, we for everyday use, we recommend that you only use once in the morning. If you're going to be out at the beach or if you're going to be outside in the sun all day, like at a ball game, we do suggest that you reapply it every couple of hours, or if you're in and out of the water, if you're at the beach or at the pool. But for everyday use, putting it on in the morning, that's sufficient.
Okay, that's good information. I know for me, when I'm driving my car and the weather is beautiful, you will look at yourself and you will realize that your left arm is darker than your right arm. So I keep a tube of sunscreen in my car and
That's very
apply it.
smart. And most
And
of us should, that's a good thing to do.
yes, but let's talk about also different formulas of sunscreen, and in particular, how do you determine what level of SPF? I know my skin is very sensitive, so I have to go a little bit higher than a 30. But then we hear that at a certain point you don't need to go up to like an 80 or 100 because it doesn't really make that much a difference. What's your opinion on that?
I think the recommendation from a dermatological standpoint is that you use 30, but that you reapply it as necessary. And the sensitivity sometimes comes from the
Okay.
chemicals in the sunscreen,
So
not necessarily the SPF, but chemicals there.
okay. And a lot of people of color say one of the reasons they get frustrated with using a sunscreen is that it leaves this white film, like a white cast on their skin. So there are different formulations like mineral, all kinds of things. What's the difference and why does it
Well,
matter?
okay, so the sunscreens that leave the white cast on your skin are physical or mineral sunscreens, and they contain chemicals like titanium dioxide or zinc oxide that tend to appear whitish on the skin. But there are lots of new formulations that are either sheer or invisible or microionized. If you see that on the sunscreen, that means that it should not leave that white cast on your skin. And those are the ones that I recommend for brown skin.
Okay, repeat that again. Those different formulations that won't leave that white film on your skin.
You look there, they contain titanium for the mineral sunscreens. And mineral sunscreens are good, especially for people with sensitive skin, but they're either ultra sheer, invisible, or microionized, which means that the particles are very small and they don't leave that white cast on the skin.
Okay, that's helpful to know. And then in recent years, we have come to find out that those of us who are spending a lot of time on a computer and who isn't or other communication devices, there are blue rays or whatever coming out from your computer screen that also can be damaging to your skin. So we've heard things that you need to also wear. That's the other reason why you need to wear a sunscreen all the time.
And that is important, and that is true. And also, and if you're in a room where there's a window, the sun can come in through the window. They also recommend that you protect your eyes against the blue light if you're on the computer, the majority of the time. You should consider getting some glasses that.
Right. And you were trying to say, again, glasses, when you're getting new lenses for your glasses, make sure that the optician that you're going to has that blue lens. It doesn't look blue. You can't see it. In fact, as I'm moving my head, you can kind of see a hint of blueness coming through my eyeglasses. But that also is protecting your eyes from the light that is coming through your computer, laptop screen, or whatever kind of communication device you might be working from. And so this has been very helpful for us, Dr. Holmes, and I want to thank you for being with us today. Don't take sunscreen lightly, folks. It's going to protect you from a number of different things, but you've heard the facts today from Dr. Yolanda Holmes, who is here in the Washington, D.C. area, and we thank you today for being with us so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Back to you, Denise.
Thanks, Brenda. That was a very, very important segment, and particularly, I think I heard a part about glasses, about sunglasses as well. Yeah.
And regular glasses, you can kind of see some blueness. If I don't know if that people can detect it, but this is the protection that protects your eyes when you're working on your computer. A lot of people who do a lot of work on computer may say they have headaches. They need that blue, clear lens. to
Right.
kind of help with that.
You know, we don't know what we need to know until it's too late. You know what I'm saying? We go to the eye doctor and it's like, oh, should I have been doing that? You know, dry eye, oh, all kinds of eye conditions. So,
Yeah.
and skin conditions as well. So, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Before because we got a couple minutes left, you know, I want to grab you to talk about what you're covering this weekend. I know you got some hot stuff coming up.
I am excited about the Ellington 125 festival that the Kennedy Center has been putting on. I've covered two things already, but it's celebrating Duke Ellington, a native Washingtonian who has been such an important contributor to American music. He would have been 125 years old. So
Wow.
there's a range of programming at the Kennedy Center that's going to go until the end of this month, all the way from looking at some of Duke Ellington's orchestral music to doing mashups between Ellington and hip hop. So we're excited about that.
And so
Also,
is that I mean, I'm just curious because I know you've mentioned it and you know everybody wants to start getting out right now, and I know they have Millennial Stage where they have a lot of free programming. Does this fall into that category? Or are these ticketed or what?
some of them are millennial programs and some of them are ticketed programs. But if you
Mm.
go to the Kennedy Center website, kennedyscenter.org, you will see the banner that a banner ad that says Ellington 125. And if you click on that, you'll see all the programs that are remaining. It was
Okay,
a
well, I'm
great,
gonna tell folks, Brenda, to go to our website where they can
yes,
see your articles and then go to the Kennedy Center's website because I'm sure you refer them to it. But
thank
you
you.
know,
Thank you so very much.
yeah.
And I had a great time last Friday covering the Black Opry Review. And we had 5 artists that are a part of a national tour, 5 Black artists. That article is also posted on the WashingtonInformer.com website. The response has been amazing. The show was amazing. It was a sold out crowd out at the Barns at Wolf Trap.
Mm.
And this is something we need to be aware of. And it was last Friday, the day that Beyonce's album came out, and they opened the show by praising Beyonce, and they closed the show by praising Beyonce and welcoming her to the club.
All right. Okay.
So it's all
Brenda,
love. It's all love.
yeah, thank you so very much for being with us. We know that you are, you know, you are the creme de la creme when it comes to lifestyle reporting here in the DMV, things that we don't often hear about, and you certainly do find them and make your way there. So we appreciate that. So have
Absolutely.
a good weekend. Enjoy the concert. Who knows? I might see you at the Kennedy Center this weekend.
You might. And don't forget, it's Jazz Appreciation Month. That's my love. So it's all about jazz this month.
All righty, Brenda, take care and thanks a lot.
Bye bye.
All righty. And so that brings us, boy, this was a quick show, but that brings us to the end of another edition of Let's Talk. I'm so grateful that you all were here to join us. Again, we hope you found our discussions insightful and informative. And we are grateful that we had with us Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose of a Black Realtist, Robert Gregg, who's doing some great things at Baloo Senior High School, and Dr. Yolanda Holmes. Whether you are looking to buy a home, lending a helping hand to those in need, or taking care of your skin, there are resources and support available to you. Remember, change begins with awareness and dialogue. Let's continue to spark conversations, break barriers, and build a more inclusive future. Be sure to tune in to next week's broadcast, where we will continue to bring you important conversations and valuable insights. Have a great weekend.